All right, LBHT crew. Listen, Panthers Nation, tough loss, another tough loss. Okay, but a lot of optimism. You are this close, 2 weeks in a row, to extending your win streak. You could be on a 4-game win streak, but as it stands, it's a 2-game losing streak. However, the play of Bryce Young has looked very promising, and it has given my brother a whole new level of optimism over here. How are you feeling right now, B?
I'm feeling pretty good. We have I don't know if it's still true after this Sunday, but I believe it is. We have the most accurate kicker in NFL history. He missed a couple kicks, so that was cool. I thought it was funny. I don't remember who it was. I saw somebody say on Twitter that Eddie Pinheiro has been a solid kicker, except for he was the reason for two of the most heartbreaking losses in Panthers history. And I said to myself, I was like, for the last 7 years, they haven't won more than 7 games. Nothing about any of these individual games is heartbreaking. But that's neither here nor there. They should have won this game. They I don't want to say they had the game won. I mean, they kind of did. They were driving in overtime. They were going to kick the field goal. They were going to win the game until that Drake fan decided he wasn't going to put two hands on the ball and fumble it.
We are OVO Ting. OVO Ting.
So it's a series of unfortunate events when it comes to Chuba Hubbard and me, because I'm not a fan of the fact that they gave him that extension before even seeing Jonathan Brooks, because I don't like paying a backup running back $8 million a year, which I think is what he's going to be once Jonathan Brooks gets fully acclimated. I think he's the better player, but even if he wasn't, that would mean that you spend a 2nd round pick on the backup running back, and I don't like that either, right? Then there was the video of him getting angry that they're playing Kendrick Lamar at practice. I don't like that. And then obviously the fumble at the end of the game, which in the moment is a bit, it makes you angry, right? But shout out to Chuba Hubbard, because he's the only one out there doing the right thing. And the right thing is making sure they don't win any more games. They're back in, I believe the number 5 pick, number 4 or 5 in the draft, which is right where they need to be. The last couple of weeks have gone as well as they possibly could for Carolina, because you've gone out there and you've seen very clearly what the weaknesses and the strengths are for the team. As of right now, this moment, Bryce Young is a strength on the team. The O-line is a strength on the team, right? The run game, because Chuba Hubbard, he's a good enough player. I'm not saying he's a terrible player or anything like that. He's a good running back. He's a strength of the team. The defense, obviously, huge weakness. Now, to be fair, they have a lot of big time injuries on the defense. Some guys who are just coming back, and they're trying to work them in, and they are playing hard. But they are the less talented side of the ball, which is real tough in Carolina to be that. But that almost makes you the least talented unit in the NFL. But Bryce has played really well. We've seen not great play from the wide receiver. So it's very clear the areas that need to be upgraded. And they've also not won the games. So they're not pushing themselves further away from those elite talents that they need. Ideally, you go into that draft and maybe they can even climb a couple more spots over the next 4 weeks or 5 weeks, and put themselves in a position where they can trade back and get more picks, because that's what this team needs. It's an old roster. It's not a very talented roster. They don't have a lot of cap room as is, which is alarming considering the amount of talent on the team. So if they can trade back, get more picks, and still get themselves an elite prospect in the draft, that's fantastic. And that's the road they're on right now. But yeah, in the moment, it sucks to see them lose, right? I mean, they played really hard. Adam Thielen made maybe the catch of the season with that one-handed, left-handed catch in overtime. The defense, like I said, they gave up the field goal to send it to overtime, but they stood tall and they held them to a field goal to keep Carolina in it in overtime. The running backs, when they've been given the opportunity, have made some plays. Jatavian Sanders is out right now, and his replacement, Tommy Tremble, was out there making plays too. So, everybody's playing hard. The team looks like they really kind of believe in Bryce. The attitude around the team seems to have turned around.
Yeah.
Right? Bryce is out there. He's throwing with anticipation. He's throwing with a lot of velocity. He's making, good, fast decisions. He's evading the rush very, very well. So everything looks great. They just need to upgrade certain areas of the team before they're really competitive. And luckily, in the NFC South, let's say they end up fourth. They draft Travis Hunter, put him a wide receiver, division champs, right there.
Just like that.
This is a terrible, terrible division.
Well, I mean, it's a terrible division, but it's a division that has a lot of really good wide receivers.
They do, but think about this though. Carolina's 3-9, 3-9, and this is after an absolute train wreck to start the season.
Yes.
They started the season as poorly as was possible for them. They're 3 games out of the division. They still have not even lost the division championship at this point.
And had they won these last 2 weeks, they're right.
They would be right there.
They would be right in it.
They would be 1 game out had they won these
one game out, looking very promising to win it.
Yes, because they had to play Atlanta, and Kirk Cousins is looking like Kirk Cousins right now. He threw 4 interceptions this past weekend. Honestly, if you think about it, if they had beat Kansas City and they beat Tampa Bay, you would have to look at them as the favorites to win the division at that point. And that's an insane thing to say. But I think that, like I said, the attitude around the team, I think, is turned around because Bryce Young has kind of done almost the impossible, where, it's not very often that you see an athlete lose their confidence or seemingly lose their confidence and get it back. He looked awful to start the season. He looked like he didn't belong in the NFL. He got benched for Andy Dalton. He sat out, I think it was 5 weeks, and he came back himself. He came back as the guy that they thought they were getting when they drafted him number 1 overall last year.
Absolutely. And I think so many things went wrong for him in his first year. Just the change of coaches, a poorly run team, a poorly run organization.
Mm-hmm.
And coming back, yes, we both think Dave Canales, they got it right with Dave Canales this time around, but still a new coach, a whole new coaching staff, a whole new scheme.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just an adjustment that he wasn't ready for right out the gate. And he needed that time to sit. I mean, it's cliche when you hear coaches say this, but he just needed time to sit and just kind of take it all in, right? Let the game slow down for him.
Yeah, because what coaches normally mean is he needed some time to get the hell out of my face so we can start winning some games because he's about to get tired. That's what they normally mean when they say that.
Yeah. But a timely collision by an unspecified vehicle to Andy Dalton's car.
and thank goodness his whole family was okay. Nobody got hurt. But my God, does that look? Like the optics around that look pretty suspicious at this point.
And Bryce is right back in there, and he looks completely different. Yes, it is rare to see that happen. And I'm very happy for him. And I'm happy for you guys because, yes, the quarterback position is something that we've kind of debated with Panthers fans. If Bryce wasn't showing any signs of improvement, that's something that you have to focus on. You have to get quarterback right before anything else.
Mm-hmm.
But he's looking right. And if he keeps this up, it's about consistency now. I think he's playing well. Yeah. It's about consistency. If he keeps it up, I think we can safely say he's turned the corner, by the end of the season. And that's something you don't have to worry about moving forward. And you can go and improve the rest of the team, fill in some of those other holes. So that's huge for you guys.
What's up, T. Higgins? But no, it's a great spot to be in if you have your quarterback or you think you have your quarterback and still to be picking at the top of the draft. It's not somewhere you want to be consistently, but if you have the young quarterback and you're picking there, it lets you pick the actual best player available as opposed to going to quarterback. So it gives you the opportunity to get another elite type of talent on the team. Whether that's an edge rusher, wide receiver, corner, whoever it is. Whereas if Bryce isn't the guy, you're going to sit there and you're going to say, hey, we've got to take Shador or Cam Ward or Jalen Milroe. And, I like Cam Ward a lot. I think Cam Ward is going to be a really, really good NFL quarterback. But you're I think, sacrificing on talent for the more important position at that point, just because you have to get your quarterback. I mean, you almost have to get him at the top of the draft, right? Otherwise, it's a gigantic crapshoot waiting until later. But if you have the quarterback, which it looks right now like Carolina does, then you can go into the draft and just take the actual best player available. And like you said, go about building the rest of the roster around him.
All right. Well, let's see how the rest of the season plays out. Next week, you're playing Philly, who just took care of business against my Ravens.
We'll get them for you.
I hope so. And again, this is another game. It's going to look like that. On paper, the Eagles are the favorite, but it's going to be a close game. I believe the Panthers they're playing a lot more competitive, and it's hard for teams, right, when you see them start out bad, and it's hard mentally to think that, hey, we got to go in there and really be prepared for this team, because you look at the record and you look at how they started out earlier in the season. It's hard to wrap your mind around the fact that that's not the same team anymore. And I think that's where the Panthers are now. They're just not that same team. And when teams have to go up against them, they're finding that out the hard way.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a competitive game for sure.
This is another one of those big tests I was looking for with Bryce to see if it's real. Kansas City was the first one, but they do have a good defense, but it hasn't been as good over the second half of the season as it was early on in the season. They had a couple of injuries that have kind of slowed them down a little bit, but they're still a good defense, and that was still a very good performance from Bryce. I am interested to see how he looks against Philly. Philly is kind of the fraud at quarterback over there aside, they're one of the juggernauts in the NFL. They have a great all-around roster. So I want to see how he's able to perform there, particularly when you look at the receivers in Carolina, who haven't been the most consistent. Say it like that.
Yeah. All right. Well, stay tuned. We're going to dive more into that game on our Wednesday show. All right. So if you're new here, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos in the future. All right. So things are looking up for the Panthers. Will they stay looking up? I think so, but we'll discuss it. All right, y'all. That's it for this video. We'll see you next time. Peace.